What's up, Taiwan? I'm Liao with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan People's Party founder Wen-je is leaving detention after being held incommunicado for a year during a corruption investigation. Our reporter Tiffany Wong joins us live from outside the courthouse where Ke's supporters are waiting for him. Tiffany, what is the latest on the case?
Hi, Leslie. Well, just any minute now, we are expecting Wen-je to step outside the doors of this courthouse on bail. At least a few hundred people have gathered just a few hundred meters away from me, waiting to hear Ke speak to the media and his supporters after he's been released on bail, as I said. And they have been waiting a really long time. He was granted this bail offer by the court on Friday, and he did take the weekend to decide. And we just learned this morning that he would pay that $2 million bail, a very hefty amount for a very high-profile trial here. Now, it's been a very hectic year for Ke. He spent most of the year detained incommunicado while being investigated for corruption and embezzlement during his time as Taipei mayor, as well as while he was running for president in 2024. And during that time, Ke's father passed away. So his wife says that once he is free to go, Ke wants to go first to see his mother in Hsinchu and then to visit his father's gravesite.
So it looks like there's lots of people there. Why has Ke's case attracted so much attention in Taiwan?
Well, Ke does have quite a lot of supporters. He was Taipei mayor for 8 years. He also founded the Taiwan People's Party, which is now the third largest party in the legislature. And Ke himself posed a pretty strong bid for president in the last election, getting 25% of the vote, which is really significant for a third party. Ke's supporters, as I said, have been waiting a long time to see him. They recently took to the streets to call for his release and also call for justice. They've been calling this trial judicial persecution from the ruling Democratic Progressive Party and the government. In December last year, he was released briefly on bail, but just a few days later, prosecutors successfully appealed to re-detain him. And now the judge says that it's unlikely that Ke will be able to destroy evidence or collude with others, given that most of the key defendants have already been investigated in this case. Now, besides visiting his mother, Ke's wife said that he really wants to go around the country to thank his supporters. But of course, his bail does come with some conditions, and it's unclear if he'll be able to do that or leave his residence for very long. Of course, there is also the chance that prosecutors could appeal to re-detain him, so we'll be keeping an eye on developments.
Thanks, Tiffany. That was Tiffany Wong live outside the courthouse. She'll be keeping tabs on the case, and we'll have more on Wen-je's case later. President Ching-te says it is time for Taiwan to rest and recuperate after this summer's polarizing recall elections. In an exclusive interview with the Liberty Times newspaper, Liao said his government is shifting focus to improving Taiwan's economic outlook and social welfare. It comes weeks after a cabinet reshuffle saw new, relatively young ministers taking over key departments. A heated campaign this year to recall dozens of opposition lawmakers resulted in all of them keeping their seats in the legislature. Opposition parties have accused the ruling Democratic Progressive Party of wasting public funds and using the recall movement to cement its own power. Canadian and Australian warships sailed through the Taiwan Strait this past weekend, drawing criticism from Beijing for undermining regional stability. But what does this signal for the Indo-Pacific security? Alan Liu has more.
A Royal Canadian Navy frigate and an Australian guided missile destroyer. This past weekend, these warships transited through the Taiwan Strait, a move China has criticized as a show of force and provocation. But in Taiwan, the ship's transit was welcomed by some, who stressed that the strait does not belong to China.
台湾海峡是属于国际水域，不是中国的内海。当台湾海峡是国际水域的时候，中国意图对台湾发动军事行动的时候，就必须考量国际是否会介入。在这一个国际海域进行两栖运动的时候，可能会遭受的困难点。 所以台湾海峡作为公海，对台湾的安全守卫是加分的哈。
The transits came just after China's September 3rd military parade, where the country showed off its latest cutting-edge weapons to the world. And data from marine traffic showed a U.S. government vessel also sailed through the straits the night before, though Taiwan's defense ministry did not confirm that passage. One expert says this signals that democratic countries like Australia and Canada are upholding their long-standing policy of supporting an open Indo-Pacific and freedom of navigation.
我想，这一次他们澳洲跟加拿大军舰穿越台海，它并不是光只针对中国的93阅兵，而是表示它战略上一个稳定的政策。那只是在时间点上面，刚好就是可以对中国它在93阅兵的这个作为进行一个反应。所以我想，这对于区域安全可以说是反过来给北京一个嚇阻的讯号了。
Last week, a Canadian frigate also joined the Philippines, Australia, and the U.S. for drills in the Philippine Sea. Canada emphasized that the exercises comply with the UN law, though China says they damage regional peace. Klein Wang and Ellen Liu for TaiwanPlus.
A political shakeup in Japan after Prime Minister Ishiba Shigeru announced his resignation over the weekend. His exit follows the ruling party's poor performance in the country's past two parliamentary elections. As one of Taiwan's close regional partners, a change of power in Japan could have ripple effects for Taipei. A sudden announcement from Japan's prime minister on a Sunday afternoon.
I have decided to resign as the Liberal Democratic Party president.
Ishiba's resignation means he'll also vacate his role as prime minister. His decision comes amid mounting pressure and waning support from within his ruling Liberal Democratic Party. Under his leadership, the LDP and the smaller Komeito Party lost their coalition majority in both of Japan's parliamentary chambers. Ishiba had resisted prior calls to step down. As one of Taiwan's close neighbors, Japan plays a key role in regional peace and stability. The two countries share robust ties at a time when nearby China is ramping up aggression in the region. Beijing has threatened to take Taiwan by force, but under Ishiba, Japan helped keep China at arm's length.
Japan has continued to go forward with some of its decision to deploy long-range military missiles to areas where will potentially be considered as crucial for defending against a Chinese attack on Taiwan.
And though a change in leadership is coming for the LDP, it seems unlikely that the party will shift its Taiwan-friendly policies, as most of the frontrunners for the party's next leader are also seen as being supportive of the country. But there's no guarantee Japan's next prime minister will be from the LDP. If it remains in power, it needs to form a coalition with other parties, each with their own stances.
I think it's really coming back to what sort of partners do they decide and want to include into this coalition, and whether that is going to have a fundamental impact on Japan's foreign policy position.
On Monday, Taiwan's foreign ministry said that while it won't comment on Japan's domestic affairs, Ishiba did indeed foster stronger Taiwan-Japan ties. Taipei says it will continue cooperating with Tokyo in multiple areas. Preparations are now underway to choose the next head of the LDP. Ishiba says he'll remain in office until a successor is named. A change in Japan's leadership is on the horizon, and Taiwan will be keeping a close watch. Leon Lian and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus. Kyiv is calling for more help from abroad after Moscow carried out its largest drone strike since its invasion of Ukraine began. And that help might be coming as U.S. President Donald Trump looks at a new phase of sanctions on Russia. John Van Triest has more.
Explosions fill Kyiv's skyline Sunday as part of Russia's biggest drone attack into Ukraine yet. At least 4 died in Kyiv, including an infant. But while this wasn't the deadliest Russian strike so far, it was different than those that have come before. Psychologically, it struck a new kind of blow, setting the Ukrainian government's main building ablaze. And among Ukrainians, the scale of the attack has cemented new doubts about promises of peace talks or a deal, as Russia's growing ties with countries like China keep it buoyed in the face of Western pressure.
They will continue strikes for as long as they have the capabilities to do so. Only when we are given enough missiles and when the world forces China to stop buying energy resources from Russia so that they do not have money, otherwise nothing good will come.
We are waiting for when this will be over. World leaders gather together to come up with a solution, but in reality, nothing has changed. But on the contrary, the situation is getting worse.
Moscow didn't immediately comment on the strikes. But Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia is testing how far the world will allow it to go. He's calling for allies to put more sanctions on Russia and to help Ukraine's long-range capabilities.
Putin does not want negotiations. He is clearly hiding from them. So Russia's fuel shortages and other economic troubles are the logical response to its refusal to agree to a ceasefire or a meeting at the leaders' level.
The United States Special Envoy for Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, wrote on social media that Sunday's strike looks like an escalation and not a signal Russia is interested in a diplomatic solution to the war. And even U.S. President Donald Trump, who has so far avoided toughening sanctions on Russia, told a reporter he's ready to do so now, though he didn't elaborate. He also says European leaders are coming to the U.S. this week to try to settle the war. He says, above all, that he's determined to end the conflict.
So, no, I am not thrilled with what's happening there, I will tell you. I think it's going to get settled. So I settled 7 wars. This, I would have said, would have been maybe the easiest one to settle of all. But with war, you never know what you're getting. But we're going to get it. I believe we're going to get it settled. But I am not happy with them. I'm not happy with anything having to do with that war. It's just such a waste of great humanity.
But there have been meetings of this kind before, from Trump's separate summits with Putin and Zelensky, and a large gathering in Paris of Ukraine's allies, to no effect so far. Meanwhile, Russia's President Putin just last week defied Western efforts to isolate him, standing on stage with a range of world leaders at a military parade in Beijing. Ties with China and North Korea seem especially warm right now. The question is, what concrete measures the U.S. and Europe can come up with, and whether they'll be enough to get things onto the path towards peace. Chris Ma and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Pre-events for the annual Semicon trade show are underway in Taipei ahead of Wednesday's main opening, with organizers saying it will be the biggest edition yet. Up to 100,000 visitors and more than 1,200 companies from 56 countries are expected to join, making it one of the world's largest semiconductor events. Industry forums featuring tech executives run Monday and Tuesday. The show floor opens Wednesday. Stay tuned to TaiwanPlus for more Semicon coverage throughout this week. Taiwan's women's 540-kilogram team has won gold at the World Tug-of-War Championships for the 4th straight year. It's the latest in a series of feats at the competition, which was held this year in Nottingham, England. Taiwan, which competes as Chinese Taipei, also took gold in the junior mixed 520-kilogram and the under-23 women's 500-kilogram categories on Sunday. The event wrapped up over the weekend with Taiwan winning 5 gold and 2 silver. And thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, let's have a look at Dongyuan Elementary School baseball team's victory parade in Taipei after their win at the Little League World Series in the U.S. I'm Leslie Liao. Take care. See you next time.
In the face of adversity, the power of truth.
A roadmap for a just and open world, charted by the freest country in Asia.
Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.